Hi friends, most of you watch my channel without subscribing. Please subscribe if you like my stories. Have a good rest. My name is David and I'm 45 years old. For 22 wonderful years, I was happily married to my wife Emily. We have two beautiful daughters together, Sarah, who is 22, and Lily, who is 20. Our first child, Sarah, arrived a little earlier than expected, while Emily and I were still in college. Emily and I met our sophomore year at a party and instantly clicked. We started dating soon after and were inseparable for the next 2 years. Emily got pregnant during our senior year of college. Since we were deeply in love, we decided to get married right away and raise the baby together. It was difficult balancing new parents' duties while trying to finish our degrees, but we managed by leaning heavily on each other. After college, I started working in sales at a large tech firm, while Emily stayed home to care for our daughters. Over the years, my career progressed quickly into management thanks to Emily's constant support. She not only raised our girls primarily on her own, but also kept our lives running smoothly so I could focus fully on work. I appreciated everything she did for our family more than words can express. She was the perfect wife and mother. Before discovering Emily's affair, I would have ranked our marriage as perfect. Emily kept our home spotless, managed our finances, cooked healthy dinners every night, and fully supported me in building my career. I really won the lottery finding such a loving and devoted partner. After over 2 decades together, I saw no cracks in our rock-solid relationship. We still flirted, made each other laugh, and set aside time for intimacy several times a week. I genuinely looked forward to coming home to Emily each evening after work. Our connection felt as vibrant and alive as when we first fell in love. Or so I thought. My deep trust in Emily was shattered when I uncovered her secret affair last year. My entire reality, everything I thought I knew about our marriage, felt like a lie. I never imagined Emily, my high school sweetheart and partner of over 20 years, was capable of sneaking around behind my back. The revelation forever destroyed my perception of our once idyllic life together. The shift started about a year after both our daughters had left home for college and Emily suddenly had much more free time. After dedicating her entire adult life up to that point to raising children, Emily struggled to adjust to the empty nest. She filled her days volunteering more at our church, spending time with her parents who lived nearby, and improving her golf game. But it still left large voids. For over 20 years, Emily's identity and purpose was built around being a mother. She tried finding part-time work, but struggled to identify any careers that truly excited her. I suggested Emily treat this newfound freedom as an opportunity to explore her interests and passions outside family life. But instead of self-discovery, she took another path: betrayal. The one positive new thing Emily brought into our home during that transitional time was Cooper, an energetic golden retriever puppy. She justified that he would provide companionship now that the kids were grown. House training a new puppy initially kept Emily busy for months. In addition to the standard walking, feeding, bathing and vet trips, she invested substantial time training Cooper not to jump on people or nip. Overall, we both enjoyed having him around, except when he shredded my good dress shoes and ruined a favorite leather belt. Even after 20 years together, Emily and I still prioritize intimacy, making time to be physical 2 or 3 times a week. But starting a few weeks before I uncovered her affair, Emily suddenly stopped initiating romance. That was the first red flag something wasn't right. Until then, we had both continued being equally enthusiastic and flirtatious bedroom partners. Her change to passive disinterest felt very noticeable and concerning. Our lovemaking also started feeling different. Rather than her normal passionate engagement, Emily seemed to just lie there limply with the lights off. A few times she even rolled over away from me after we finished. I knew something wasn't right, wrongly blamed myself, thinking I must be doing something wrong or she was bored. Looking back, I definitely should have communicated my worries over the changes I noticed in Emily's sexual appetite. Big mistake on my part to ignore those initial red flags. If I had pushed the issue early on, it may have avoided a lot of pain down the road. But fearful of conflict as always, I avoided difficult conversations in hopes the problem would fix itself. Outside the bedroom, Emily treated me the same as always. She still kissed me when I left for work each morning, and had dinner waiting every evening when I got home. We laughed and chatted nightly while walking Cooper or snuggling on the couch. She even became more affectionate than normal in these daily interactions, sitting closer, warm hugs. I realize now this increase in non-sexual closeness was an attempt to distract me from her withdrawal in the bedroom. Emily used CHANGD affection to throw me off the scent and prevent me from questioning if anything was wrong. A classic manipulation tactic that I unfortunately fell for. The fateful day I first caught a glimpse of Emily's deception started like any other. I came home early from a long morning of meetings, my mind chaotic and needing a break. As I approached the stop sign at the end of our street, I noticed Emily scurrying up the sidewalk toward our house. She was coming from the direction of the Hart home just a few houses down. Jeff and Marissa Hart had moved onto our block about 5 years earlier. He ran a local landscaping company, Hart's Gardens, and we saw them occasionally at neighborhood parties. As Emily Power walked up the street, I spontaneously pulled over and jokingly called out, "Where are you coming from?" The flash of panic that crossed her face said it all. I knew something wasn't right. She mumbled something about their elderly dog getting loose and her bringing it home. But that story made zero sense. The 15-year-old collie down the street could barely hobble down the driveway, let alone escape and sprint over here. When I casually asked about Cooper, Emily claimed she left him napping at home. Odd, since she rarely went for walks without him. The strong men's body spray smell, as Emily slid into my car, erased any lingering doubt. She was clearly lying about something. My wife tried brushing it off, saying she must have gotten Jeff's cologne on her when she retrieved the dog. But I wasn't buying it. Emily smelled like she just showered in the stuff. After a quick rinse to hide the incriminating odor, Emily emerged from the bathroom acting overly cheery, like nothing was wrong. But her nervous energy betrayed her guilt. She chatted on making small talk and cooking dinner, never mentioning the alleged dog incident. My suspicions heightened, but I needed hard evidence before confrontation. That night, after Emily fell asleep, I started investigating. No smoking gun in her phone call or text history. No flirty messages or clandestine communications. She had deleted the browser history on her cell. But footage from our home security system showed Emily leaving solo on multiple occasions that week, not returning for over an hour. Very unusual, since she preferred sticking close to home. The video didn't reveal where Emily went on these extended outings. But based on catching her earlier, I felt certain she was meeting Jeff Hart. Perhaps she initiated contact after running into him somewhere locally. However it started, they were clearly up to no good. I had enough circumstantial proof of an affair, but wanted airtight confirmation before accusing Emily of cheating. Unsure where to turn next, I remembered my colleague Nathan mentioning his father worked as a private investigator. Nathan Sr. left the police force after 30 years and started his own PI firm. I joined the two for a round of golf several months back, and Nathan Sr. seemed a great guy. When I asked if his dad still took jobs, Nathan said unfortunately no, he was retired fully now. But he kindly offered to connect me with his father for advice. Nathan Sr. called that very afternoon. I provided background on the situation and my evidence so far. He surprised me by volunteering to investigate Emily himself, pro bono. He explained he missed the excitement of investigations, but stopped accepting jobs a few years ago, because the long hours in the car proved too exhausting at his age. However, since my case seemed to center around the neighborhood, he felt confident he could handle things. I graciously accepted Nathan Sr.'s offer, knowing having a seasoned professional on board would be invaluable. For the first week of Nathan Sr.'s twice-daily surveillance, Emily's activities appeared perfectly innocent. The only times he observed her leaving the house were to walk Cooper or garden in the front yard. I started second-guessing my assumptions of an affair. But Nathan Sr. urged patience, explaining cheaters typically lay low after close calls before letting their guard down again. Just like he predicted, near the end of week 2, I got the smoking gun evidence I needed. Nathan Sr. called to report witnessing Emily walk over to the Harts' home and enter through their back door. She remained inside for over an hour before returning home. The security footage was time-stamped just 10 minutes after Jeff arrived back from work and pulled into his garage. Over the following 3 days, Emily repeated her sneaky visits to the Harts' house while I was stuck at the office. Based on the patterns Nathan observed, Jeff and Emily had devised a system where she would arrive 10 minutes after he got home to avoid being seen together. They probably had a secret key that allowed Emily to come and go freely whenever Jeff's wife was out. Very clever. Too bad they weren't smart enough to outwit Nathan. Nathan was an expert at catching cheaters red-handed. Armed with irrefutable evidence of Emily's infidelity, I met with a lawyer to begin divorce proceedings. Charles Wilson came highly recommended by friends as the top divorce attorney in town. I provided Charles the proof of Emily's affair along with a detailed account of her suspicious behavior the past few months. He agreed the adultery case was open and shut. Charles cautioned that while the eyewitness testimony and videos were compelling, they may not fully persuade a judge without concrete evidence of actual intimacy. But either way, he felt confident under state law I would not have to pay alimony or lose over half our assets. I accepted that compromise, given Emily's 20-plus years as an ideal wife and mother before this betrayal. A few days later, Charles filed for divorce. He included surveillance photos showing Emily repeatedly entering Jeff's home. The initial filing simply cited irreconcilable differences due to Emily's ongoing affair. Charles said he would later amend the petition to charge adultery once we obtained hard proof of sexual relations. He also planned to subpoena Emily's phone and credit card records, hoping to uncover evidence of communication or transactions between her and Jeff. But before Charles proceeded legally, I ended up finding the smoking gun myself, Emily's soiled panties. Arriving home early after a cancelled meeting, I discovered her frantically digging through the laundry basket. Oblivious to my presence, she desperately searched for something missing. When Emily noticed me in the doorway, she jumped back in surprise and hurried off without a word. The reason for her bizarre behavior sat safely tucked away in my briefcase. Those filthy panties. Earlier, when Emily left to run errands, I had discovered them discarded on the bedroom floor, reeking of stale sweat and sex. The crotch was soaked with the unmistakable evidence of a recent encounter. I carefully picked up the underwear with a plastic bag and added them to the growing case against my adulterous wife. Just knowing Emily had callously removed those panties after cheating and tried hiding the evidence made me nauseous. And that she intended to launder them along with my clothes enraged me further. First thing the next morning, I presented the soiled panties to Charles. He said this damning physical proof of intercourse significantly bolstered our case. Once Emily hired counsel, he would inform them of the underwear's existence. Charles felt the mere threat of entering into evidence panties drenched with another man's fluids would likely prevent any attempt by Emily to claim innocence. Over the following week, I informed family and friends of the impending divorce. They were all shocked and heartbroken to learn of Emily's betrayal. The fantasy image they held of her as a devoted wife and mother was shattered. But ultimately, they offered unconditional love and support as I navigated the tumultuous road ahead. When the weekend arrived, I asked Emily to invite both sets of parents over for dinner, portraying it as just a nice family gathering. Oblivious to my agenda, she seemed pleasantly surprised I wanted to do a big meal. Meanwhile, I planned to ambush Emily by exposing her deceit with everyone present at once. I needed witnesses to prevent any later attempts at spinning the story. Emily prepared a delicious spread of glazed ham, roasted potatoes, and buttered carrots. She used her best china and even baked an apple pie for dessert. Both families arrived right on time and enjoyed mingling over wine before sitting down to eat. The table brimmed with laughter and happy conversation as food was passed around. It was a Norman Rockwell picture of familial perfection, exactly the backdrop I needed for dramatically exposing my wife's secret double life. Just as Emily finished serving herself a slice of pie and settled into her seat, I gently tapped my wine glass to get the table's attention. Clearing my throat, I announced, "I have something to share with all of you." Emily looked up with a smile, assuming I was about to make a heartfelt toast. I recently discovered Emily has been having an affair for the past month. You could have heard a pin drop in the stunned silence that followed. Head spinning, Emily stuttered. "Whoa, what are you talking about?" The genuine shock on our parents' faces revealed she had kept them in the dark as well. I calmly continued. "I hired a private investigator who has footage of Emily sneaking over to Jeff Hart's house while I'm at work. They've been meeting several times a week for over a month." Emily's denial act quickly crumbled under the weight of witnesses. She broke down sobbing and admitted through tears that she slept with Jeff a handful of times when pressed for details. I excused myself politely from the table while Emily crumpled into her mother's arms, wailing incoherently. She pleaded to speak with me alone, but I declined. My mother hugged me tightly in the foyer before I slipped out, carrying my bags. I stayed at my brother's house that night and did not see or speak to Emily again until court nearly 2 months later. In the interim, I cut off all contact with Emily beyond necessities regarding our shared finances and daughters. My lawyer provided instructions to only discuss divorce matters with her in writing or with an attorney present. Any additional contact attempts from Emily I was to keep brief and focused. I followed that advice, refusing to engage whenever she pushed for reconciliation. During our brief exchanges, Emily never fully admitted to the affair, reverting back to denial for a time. She downplayed the eyewitness evidence as circumstantial. Her new attorney likely prepped her not to legally acknowledge adultery to avoid its use against her in court property division. But Emily's refusal to take accountability showed me I made the right decision to leave quickly. Apparently, word of Emily's infidelity spread rapidly through our tight-knit community. A friend informed me Jeff's wife Lisa learned of the affair and moved out, taking their kids to her parents' house 2 towns away. Jeff in return denied everything and cut off contact with Emily. She had isolated herself through her selfish choices. A small part of me felt sad imagining Emily alone in our big empty house, rejected by those who once loved her most. But a larger part felt she deserved it. As our court date approached, Emily showed up unexpectedly at my new condo, hysterically begging me to halt the divorce. She insisted I was making a rash choice we would both regret. When I asked her to leave, Emily tried pushing through the door, screaming that I owed it to her to try counseling after 25 years together. I gently but firmly restrained her arms and calmly reiterated it was over. Then I shut the door and called the police to have her removed. Later, my attorney shared that Emily's legal counsel had quit abruptly when she refused to accept the hard evidence against her. Charles speculated she may try representing herself at trial rather than admitting guilt. He seemed confident either way the outcome would favor us. But I worried what irrational behavior Emily might resort to under pressure on the stand. We decided as a backup plan to call Nathan Sura as a corroborating witness to avoid any chance of Emily attempting to spin her testimony in her favor. On the big day, I arrived at court early, dressed in my best charcoal suit with a red power tie. Emily sat on the opposite side of the courtroom in a conservative black dress with a high collar. She looked pale and meek, a far cry from the normally radiant woman I once loved. We never made eye contact as we waited for proceedings to begin. Emily denied adultery under oath when questioned, just as predicted. I think she clung to the irrational hope I might be bluffing about evidence and fold my case if she held her ground firmly enough. But that fantasy was shattered when Nathan Sr. took the stand as our surprise corroborating witness. He recounted in vivid detail observing Emily arrive and enter Jeff Hart's home on multiple occasions while I was at work. His testimony matched the surveillance footage perfectly. The final nail in Emily's coffin was the soiled panties I submitted as evidence Exhibit A. The judge inspected them closely and concluded they did contain incriminating bodily fluids from intercourse. He ruled them admissible as evidence due to Emily's continued implausible denials of an affair. When the judge ordered she come examine the underwear herself to refute their authenticity, Emily broke down. She admitted through hysterical sobs that yes, she had sexual relations with Jeff Hart on several occasions. "I'm so sorry, David, so sorry," she whimpered over and over. It was clear to all in the courtroom her cheating was real and not just my imagination. Based on Emily's dramatic courtroom confession, the judge granted our divorce on grounds of adultery after less than an hour of deliberation. The settlement followed my attorney's counsel: no alimony payment and 50/50 division of all marital assets. Legally, I could have fought for a larger percentage given her admitted infidelity. But I chose to take the high road and not fight Emily for more than the law automatically granted me. Charles said I was a better man than he would have been in my shoes. He appreciated that despite Emily's betrayal, I wanted to part ways respectfully in recognition of the many wonderful years we shared. I simply told him that anger and resentment were fuels that would only destroy me from the inside out. I was determined to take this transition one day at a time with grace, optimism, and my integrity intact. As we left the courtroom, Emily approached me tearfully one last time. She looked utterly broken, a shell of the confident woman I had known. "David, is there any chance?" she stammered before I politely cut her off. I told Emily my decision was final and asked that she respect my boundaries from here on. She had lost any right to my time or emotional energy after the damage her choices caused. I wished her well, then turned and walked away without looking back. The entire humiliating spectacle made me realize I absolutely made the right decision to divorce swiftly. While part of me mourned the happy years we shared, a larger part acknowledged the relationship died the minute Emily betrayed our vows repeatedly behind my back. Any lingering love or respect I still held for her evaporated that day I watched my wife pathetically lie under oath about her affair. Once the dust settled legally, I dedicated time to self-reflection and reconnecting with old friends. I recognized that while unable to control Emily's actions, I could fully control my own. I committed to focusing my thoughts and energy solely on personal growth and creating a new life of integrity going forward. Letting go of anger helped accelerate my healing process tremendously. I practiced mindfulness when painful memories surface, acknowledging them briefly before purposefully shifting focus to something positive in the present moment. When old friends asked about the divorce, I gave the Cliff Notes version, then gracefully changed subjects. I also joined a men's support group that proved invaluable. We bonded over shared stories of heartbreak and betrayal. My eyes opened to how many other good people struggle through experiences similar to mine. But their attitudes amazed me. Instead of stewing over their ex's wrongdoings, they spoke with hope about the future. Their resilience motivated me to see my divorce not as an end, but as a new beginning. A few months later, I was thriving again. I purchased a smaller condo near work and enjoyed making it my own on the weekends with DIY projects. Exploring new hobbies introduced me to fresh social circles. I signed up for guitar lessons, a cooking class, and even ballroom dance, something Emily always dreamed of trying but I'd always rejected. Stepping far out of my comfort zone brought laughter and adventure to my days. Dating again after over 2 decades of marriage felt strange initially, but coffee and dinner dates also proved to be surprising confidence boosters. The modern rituals of flirting and establishing connection with new people excited me. I created dating profiles at the encouragement of some single colleagues. But after testing the waters, I deleted my accounts. I learned I prefer meeting potential partners face-to-face doing activities we enjoy rather than browsing profiles like shopping for a toaster oven. For now, I'm keeping things casual and avoiding any rush back towards serious commitment. Emily kept her distance as requested after the divorce. From mutual friends, I heard she moved into a small apartment downtown above a coffee shop. She took an office manager job with a dental practice that seemed to fit her skill set perfectly, Always outgoing and chatty, Emily thrived on engaging with patients and co-workers after years spent home alone. I also learned from my daughters that Emily swore off dating, determined to win me back someday. But I made clear to them long ago that ship sailed permanently when she betrayed our marriage. The trust between us shattered and could never be restored fully. I plan to be cordial when required to interact at family milestones. But beyond that, I will keep contact minimal and continue moving forward rather than backwards. While discovering a partner's infidelity is deeply painful, dwelling on anger and sadness does no good. Feeding those destructive emotions through addiction or retaliation poisons you more than anyone else. I found that acknowledging feelings briefly, then deliberately shifting focus to something positive moved me through grief much quicker. Positivity, patience with yourself, and embracing support systems will help you rise above the ashes too. Betrayal often comes with important lessons if we choose growth over resentment. My experience taught me to listen to my intuition. It also revealed the emotional strength within myself that I never knew existed until tested. But most of all, it hammered home that nothing should be taken for granted. Life can change in an instant. Cherish each moment, and never believe you fully know anyone, not even yourself. A period of darkness makes the moments of light even more precious. When they return, have faith. They will.